Foul is Fair, Chapter 22. The Sword is Drawn, Part 2. Megan glanced back in time to sidestep. The boot golem's sword cleaved into the floor next to her. While it was recovering, Aisling dove back towards Megan, starting to climb her pants leg until Megan could get a hand on her. "I'll just slow you down! Throw me!" Aisling shouted. Megan was about to protest, but the sword had been pulled free and was coming up for another swing. She desperately threw the pixie toward the curtains as hard as she could, then ran for the stage. The sword crashed down just behind her, barely missing her leg, buying her another moment when the golem had to remove its blade from the floor. Managing to pick her pace back up, she tried to leap onto the stage, failing to clear it by inches and ending up sprawling forward. She turned over to see the sword coming down at her and desperately rolled to one side, avoiding a swing that cut deep into the stage. The giant pulled the blade free, and she dove out of reach as the next swing came at her. The golem pursued, the front of the stage collapsing under its weight with each step towards her. "Banzai!" came a voice from above. Aisling, having pulled down or cut a portion of the curtain free, clutched it as she dove toward the boot golem, pulling more of the ragged red fabric down with her, tattered wings flapping furiously to attempt any control over her descent. The golem looked up to see a wave of red coming down at it. It thrust its sword upward, the blade tearing through the fabric and just missing Aisling. A moment later, the pixie hit the stage, stunned. The golem was staggering, head and sword arm entangled in the fabric for a moment. Megan took the opportunity, scooping up Aisling on her way to running towards Justin. While Megan had been on her own chase, the hand golem had been working to herd Justin back toward the tower golem at the door. Every time it came too close, the crow flapped past its eyes, drawing the hand golem's attention. Still, the squire was running out of room. Megan grabbed for one of the ruined horns, flinging it at the hand golem. The metal instrument rang off the back of its head, causing it to turn enough to look her way. Justin took the opportunity to run towards her, past the golem's shield arm. When she spun back around to flee the hand golem, now chasing them both, she saw the boot golem pulling free from the curtain in one corner. On the other side of the room, Lonnie was playing chicken with the eye golems, ducking into reach and then back out when they swung their swords. Try as she might, she couldn't draw them away from the great chair, though it also meant that, as long as nothing else came for her, Lonnie was safe from a certain distance away. That didn't help in getting to the sword, though. "Go and help her," Justin said. "Get the sword." "What about you?" Megan asked, out of breath. "I have an idea." Megan nodded, racing back for the throne and Lonnie. She pulled up short, just out of reach of the swords, staring up at the twin sentries. "Any more ideas?" Lonnie asked. "Just one. You go left, I go right," Megan said, setting Aisling down. "She goes for the sword." "What?" Lonnie asked, looking at her incredulously. "How is she going to do anything with it?" "Trust me, Aisling, just try to shove it this way." The pixie focused on the sword. "Ready when you are." "We have to buy her time," Megan said. "Keep them busy." Both girls rushed forward, then charged to either side, drawing the eye golems, while Aisling rushed forward, climbing the side of the throne. On the main floor, Justin ran from the hand golem, slowed down by his injuries, but staying just ahead of it. He set his sights on the boot golem as the curtain fell to the floor at its feet. He ran directly at it, the boot golem readying its sword as its fellow chased the squire towards it. Near the last second, he gestured toward the pursuing golem's head. "Count!" The bird swooped past the eyes of the hand golem, distracting it for a moment. At the last second, Justin dropped, sliding along the floor, just under the boot golem's swing. He lay there, wincing and glancing back. Distracted by the count, and with a lot of forward momentum already, the hand golem failed to stop in time and crashed into the boot golem, still off balance from the swing at Justin. Both crashed to the floor, Justin barely managed to roll out from under them before they fell, gritting his teeth hard to avoid crying out as he rolled over his injured shoulder. Justin pulled himself to his feet, getting a little more distance before the golems untangled themselves. Megan and Lonnie fainted toward the throne in turns, trying to hold the attention of the eye golems. After a hard swing that Megan barely evaded, she ran behind the great chair while her attacker freed his sword from the floor. He recovered faster than she expected, and all she could do was drop to the ground under a new swing that crashed into the back of the chair. To Megan's surprise, the great chair held with only a small nick, though the blow threw up sparks. The impact also rattled the chair enough that Aisling staggered, almost tumbling off of the front of the chair before she recovered her balance amidst furious flapping. The pixie grabbed for one of the straps on the hilt and began pulling as hard as she could, budging the sword 1 inch at a time. Seeing what had happened, Lanny darted for Megan, trying to egg the right eye golem to swing at her and giving Megan a moment to recover. Rather than trying to get to her feet, having seen the chair take the hit, Megan scrambled underneath it. Lonnie's game of chicken with the right eye golem bought Megan time, but it also ended up leaving Lonnie vulnerable to a swing from the left eye golem when she dodged a strike from the right. Though she managed to twist out of the way of the worst of it, Lonnie still fell with a vicious cut to her side, just under her ribcage. The sword swing's momentum carried it into the back of the throne, rattling the chair again, sending Aisling and the sword tumbling off of it this time. While the golems were distracted, noticing the sword and the colorful butterfly wings falling, Megan grabbed for Lonnie's leg, pulling her under the chair. She turned just in time to see a golem stepping into a swing at Aisling as the pixie strained at pulling the blade across the dais. "Aisling!" she called a warning. The pixie looked up in time to see the attack, diving out of the way, but leaving the sword behind. Past them, she could see the hand golem and the boot golem pulling themselves back to their feet, sights set on Justin again. With the eye golems looking at Aisling, Megan left Lonnie for the moment and crawled out from under the chair, grabbing for the sword. The movement drew renewed attention, one of the golems looking away from Aisling and taking a swing at Megan. Holding the sheathed blade, she dove out onto the floor, rolling away painfully as she landed amidst the wreckage in the room. For a moment, she nearly drew the sword, but looked back to see the guardians once again standing, threatening and warning her away from the chair, but not pursuing even though she had the blade. While their attention was on Megan, Lonnie crawled out from under the back and snuck behind the eye golems, clutching at her side. "Justin!" Megan shouted, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. As the boot golem turned back to pursue her, Megan flung the sword. It wasn't a particularly good throw, clattering to the ground several feet short. Both Justin and the hand golem glanced at the blade, and the squire went for it as the golem struck. Megan screwed her eyes shut. She opened them in time to see all attention shifted back towards Justin where he lay, good hand holding the sword. Though the hand golem's strike had smashed him to the floor, he'd gotten the sheathed blade between himself and the iron edge of the sword. Neither sword nor sheath was damaged, keeping him from being cut in two. Justin did his best to get back to his feet, but was unable to draw the sword with one hand. He managed to interpose it again as the golem struck, hitting the sword and smashing it back against Justin's chest. Instead of being cut, the Clive Solish held, but Justin was pitched back towards Megan, flying through the air before he rolled to a stop at her feet. "Are you all right?" Megan asked, trying to help him back to his feet. Megan, grab the sheath. I need the sword," he grunted, struggling back to his feet as the hand and boot golems advanced, trying to herd the pair back towards the guardians at the throne. Megan grabbed on with both hands, and Justin pulled the sword free. As it was drawn, there was a flash of blue light. Holding a sword of pure white metal wreathed in blue flames, Justin stepped up to defend Megan as the golems bore down on him.